Last time we began the Maimer Basi Lagani, Tavshin Chafhei, Yud Shvat Tavshin Chafhei, Yud Shvat 1965. We began learning the first chapter. We finished the first Perek, and we're up to Perek Beis, the second chapter. In this contrast, it's page Yud Beis, Maschel Avayir. This is a series of one Maimer, and really brings to life, both in the mind and in the heart, and in reality, the whole understanding of one of the most fundamental themes in Kabbalah and Chassidus, which is the Sod HaTzimtzum, the secret of the Tzimtzum, which is not really here to explain some philosophical enigma about infinity and finiteness and pre-creation and post-creation, but is really here to create a blueprint for the entire experience of the human being in navigating life and ultimately revealing the oneness of Hashem, of Ein Od Milvadai, in a visceral way, and in our real life, what we call here Dira B'Tachtonim. Dira B'Tachtonim means embodying divine oneness. In very simple words, embodying divine oneness, first of all, within the person, and then by extension, we radiate it to our home, our family, our workplace, and ultimately the entire planet. So we're going to continue now Perek Beis, Be'ezer Hashem, and God willing, Sunday there'll also be a class. Today's Friday. I'm here Shabbos, but Shabbos we learn Torah Oyer, and Sunday morning, 8 o'clock, we're also going to learn this. Monday morning, I'm not here, but Be'ezer Hashem, Wednesday morning there'll also be a class, because then I'm traveling to Eretz Yisrael. So there'll be a class also Sunday, 8 o'clock a.m. All of them are posted on the yeshiva.net with the source sheets. I just want to thank very much a dear friend, Reb Ezra David Ben Avraham, who is sponsoring the series, and a great friend and a partner. And we should have atzlacha and success and bracha ad b'lidai in everything. And also, the class is dedicated by Dvorah Ziger for the safe return of all of our hostages and the security of all of the Jewish people and all of Israel. Amen. Amen. Ken Yehi Ratzon. What was the main upgrade? What was the main nekuda? We spoke about the oitzer. The last point we made was the treasure. The treasure that the king splurges at a time of, that was the word I was looking for, splurges. I just said squanders, but splurges. The treasure that the king splurges, mevazbez, in a time of war, because the victory is more important than anything. It touches the core, the victory of good over evil, of truth over falsehood, of love over hatred, of connection over disconnection, of empathy over disassociation, and of kindness over violence. That essential victory, in other words, is the world a place of oneness, or is the world a place of fragmentation and violence? And within every person, what's at the core of the world, at the core of the universe? Is it evil and darkness, or at the core of the universe there's oneness and love? That's not just a philosophical question, it's a daily question. What's your operating system at its core? At its core, what is your real belief system? Deep down. We're not talking about what we preach and what we say to our kids and even to ourselves. We're talking about energetically, how you experience the world. How do you experience life in the deepest way? Because everybody sees the news and hears the news, especially today. The news comes to your phone before it happens or in the middle of it happening. There's no, used to wait for a newspaper, the next day, 2 days later. The Jews would wait for the newspaper a week later. You know what I mean? In the shtetl, they waited for a year later. You heard the news a year later. It's like the light, it takes 8 minutes for the light to get from the sun here. So even light takes some time. But today it's faster than light because you have it by you before it's finished already. Light at least takes a couple of minutes. It's 186,000 miles per second that light travels, 300,000 kilometers per second. So miles around half of that, a little more, 186,000 I think. So it takes 8 minutes when you see the light of the sun. Yeah, you're not seeing the light of the sun. 8 minutes ago it was there. Then it traveled. So we're inundated a lot. And that's why today it's even more important to know what is your backdrop, what is your template. In other words, what is the filter through which all the news is being filtered? When a person, their template is essentially negative, everything is filtered and it's a confirmation because there's enough mishagas and chaos, I don't have to tell you, going on, what's called confirmation bias. Every confirmation that I have, every bias I have a confirmation for it. It's like a kid in school, if essentially he thinks he's a failure, right? When he gets 100, he says, no, the teacher felt bad for me because he knows how bad I am, so he gave me 100. Or he made such an easy test that even if you're stupid, another kid who actually thinks he's a success story, right? If he gets a 65, he says, I'm a sugar teacher. You have in the classroom, doesn't know how to make a test. He's a crazy teacher. Huh? Yeah. And he hates me, always hated me. And there's nothing, he's a horrible teacher. From the first time, the day I saw him, I knew that he's not a good teacher. No, who's right? It's not nothing with the facts. It has to do with how I experience my core reality, and then everything will fit in. When I get 100, it's because the teacher cheated. He feels bad for me, or because it was a stupid test. And when I get a 70 or a 60, it's a confirmation that I'm a failure. Of course, I can't get anything else. The same is true as everything in life. You know, we see it in relationships constantly. People have certain images of their spouse. That doesn't stop. That's the template. Now everything you do or you don't do, it's going to be a confirmation. Oh, you see? You see? If it's a different template, it also goes into that. Yeah, that's called bias. In English, it's called bias. In Lashon Kodesh, it's called negeya bedavar. Adam karev etzel atzmai. We see things through a certain filter. Now, it's not bad. It's the human condition. It's the human condition. But when it comes to all of life, the question is, what's the filter through which you see everything? Everything goes through that template. So is it at the core negative darkness, or at the core light, love, and oneness? And that's not a question of philosophy. It's not a question of philosophy. It's a philosophy question also. But it's a very visceral question. And therefore, this victory, to understand that this victory, that love prevails over hatred, goodness over evil, truth over falsehood, this nitzachen is mushrish, it's rooted in the etzem, in the core. And that's why it's also rooted in the core of a person. And at such a moment, the king who conceals these treasures for generations, not only didn't use them, they didn't even display them. They were too powerful, too precious, too transcendent, what's the word? The glitter and the brilliance and the richness of it is so profound. Didn't even want to display it. It wasn't worth it even to be on a museum display is already a compromise. You're showing it around. This was something that remained an oitzer. The word oitzer comes from the word it's concealed. It's a treasure. In halacha, oitzer is also called storage, a place of storage, because things are hidden there. But the word oitzer we use as treasure. It's seitzare hat yitn l'cha Hashem seitzare hatoiv. The Gemara speaks about oitzer shel yireh shamayim. We protect. And this wasn't just protected on a basic level. It's protected within, protected, and then in such a time, he splurges it and squanders it and gives it for the foot soldiers in order to win, even though it comes through the generals and the commanders as explained. What is this oitzer? And this was the main discussion that we spoke about. The journey of history, Basi lagani achaisi kala, ikir shchina b'tachtoinim haisa, the 7 sins, and then the 7 tzaddikim, the medrash and shir hashirim, all the way to Moshe, kol hashvi and chavivin, bringing the shchina down to the earth, v'athri l'mikdash shachanti b'soicham, building the mishkan from atzei shittim, which the medrash says is shtus, insanity, keresh, which comes from the word sheker, krashim, everything that we discussed at length. Tzibis Hashem, why Jews are called the soldiers of Hashem, the troops of Hashem. The moment we leave Egypt, we get a name called Tzibis Hashem, Vahi Be'etzem Hazeh. Yatsu kol tzivus Hashem me'eretz Mitzrayim. Now we go, what is this Eitzer? So he quoted what the Zohar says, Tikkunei Zohar, that Oidein Soif Lamaila Adin Ketz Lamata Adin Tachlis. Literally translated, the light of infinity, the light of Ein Soif, extends up to no end, and down to no end, to no Tachlis, limitless. That's literally the verbal, the literal translation of the words Oidein Soif Lamaila Adin Ketz Lamata Adin Tachlis. And the Maimer explains at length Lamata Adin Tachlis. And then here goes now to Lamaila Adin Ketz. And Lamaila Adin Ketz, that's the treasure. That's the treasure we're talking about. And that's why it's called Lamaila Adin Ketz. It's higher and higher to no end. And it's usually called an Eitzer. And that's what's being splurged. That's what's splurged in order to achieve the ultimate victory of darkness over light, of Dira B'Tachtainim, of the transformation of life and of the transformation of the world. Very good question. If everything is really part of oneness, why is it such a good secret? So now you're touching on Tzimtzum. This is it. Your question. This is the whole Nesugya of Tzimtzum. Huh? Huh? Well, after this Maimer, it won't be a secret anymore. Let's hope. He means a secret, not just in knowledge, a secret emotionally, you mean, right? It's a secret emotionally. He means not just the knowledge. A secret doesn't only mean that nobody knows about it. Everybody could know about it and it's still a secret. A real secret. You know, in Torah there's a chelik called Soid, right? Pshat, Remez, Drush, Soid. So Soid doesn't only mean that nobody knows about it. You can read about it, it's still a Soid. It's be'etzem a secret. Very good.
Even from that, they would only few people understand.
Very good. Open source software.
Open source.
Yeah. So it's open.
If you are knowledgeable, you can actually suggest changes. People can take it.
So you're saying that open source software, yes. So it's a Soid Be'etzem. Even if a lot of people know it, it still remains a secret because its essence is a secret. And therefore the kalim that you need to chap it, to be a teufus, are?
You need to develop the kalim.
Yeah, it's not, it's deeper kalim. Mm-hmm. So when you speak about the gilui, the revelation of Pnimiyus HaTorah, it's not just information. I'm going to tell you facts. You know, it's like you read Lahavdala, a back-end program, a bunch of gibberish. Fine, okay, so you reveal the secret. Like, what do you do for me? The gilui of Pnimiyus HaTorah means a gilui, it should be visceral. It should be able, the person should have the kalim to be a teufus, right? That's what we spoke about yesterday, the great opposition that exists, the kitrug. Because of, it's a very complex, it's a very serious process. Okay, so now let's get to the next step. Perek Beis. Remember, this is all developing the Maimer. This is the Rebbe saying the Maimer Basi Lagani from his father-in-law, the Rebbe Rayatz, and he's focusing on chapter 15 because it has 20 chapters. So he starts, and it's like line by line. He goes through chapter 15 and he explains it. So that's why there's a quote. He quotes a few lines and then he explains it. That's how he said the Maimer. He quoted and he explained and went weiter and explained, and showed the depth and the relevance and the profundity in every line. So he starts explaining in Perek 15, V'hinei, Kashem she'orin seifu lamata mata, B'yispashtas v'gili adein shir, u'misper klal, just as we said, the Zohar says, that the light of Ein Sof goes lamata mata adein ketz. What does that mean? It extends down, lower and lower, B'yispashtas, with an expansiveness and a revelation, to no shir, to no without a measurement, and without a number, it's endless. In the same way, this extends upward to no end. What does upward mean? It's metaphoric. What's up and down? We don't mean up, down, physical, up direction or down direction. It means it goes upward in the concealment of the light. concealment after concealment, which means concealment deeper than the previous concealment, and then deeper yet. Ilui achar ilui, ascending higher and yet higher and higher. Every concealment essentially is going lamaila. Concealment doesn't mean it's gone. Concealment, as we're going to see, means helam achar helam, means ilui achar ilui. It means it's going up into a higher space, and therefore it's translated as concealment. So helam achar helam is ilui achar ilui. Right? A little counterintuitive. Usually concealment is like, okay, you're done. You're out. It says helam achar helam is lamaila ilui achar ilui. That's lamaila adin ketz, and that goes endlessly. Deeper concealment, which essentially is ilui achar ilui. It's higher, 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 and we translate it as helam, as concealment. Now, that's going to be explained. What does this mean? And thank you. You're not here, and I'm supposed to translate it as being higher. I don't know. It's concealed. That's going to be the whole inyan of understanding the secret of tzimtzum. And what does this mean? This is all the quote from Basi. It's in a state of absence of oir and absence of gilui. Helam achar helam means it's so concealed that there's helam ha'oir, there's the concealment. Heder ha'oir, heder means absence. Heder in Hebrew. Heder, the absence of oir, heder agil, in the absence of revelation. Now it looks like it's the same thing. Light is revelation, but it's two separate things we're going to explain. There's heder ha'oir and heder agil. Ubeklalas generally hu inyan hat tzimtzum shahaya be'erin seif baracham. This expression of the Zayar is referring to the tzimtzum. The word tzimtzum literally means withdrawal or contraction, or there's no real good translation for tzimtzum. It's tzimtzum. But the word tzimtzum we already have in the Medrash. It says tzimtzim shchinase ben badei ha'aron. God compressed, he condensed his divine presence between the two poles of the ark. Contained. Yeah, well, it's much more than contained, as we'll see what the tzimtzum really is. So really, it's a complete withdrawal, or concealment, or suspension, right? When something is mitzumtzum, it can mean it's compressed, it's contained, it's diluted, it's compromised, it's dumb. In English, you would say it's dumbed down, or in a more radical way, as we will see, it's suspended, it's withdrawn, withdrawal. So this is the tzimtzum that happened in the Oire Ein Sof Baruch Hu, in the light of Ein Sof. And when we say it happened, I just want to say shahaya, we're not talking about time. We're not talking about time. I was once sitting at a shia when I was a yeshiva bacher with Rabbi Yoel Khan, and he would teach us chassidus very, very deeply. So he was explaining once the tzimtzum, and he says when this happened and the tzimtzum happened, so one of the bachim started to say, yeah, but how did it work this way? How did it work that way? When it happened this way? So he says in Yiddish, he says, "Sag mir, was trachst du? In welche Jahrhundert ist gewendet Tzimtzum?" For those who don't understand Yiddish, tell me, in which century do you think the Tzimtzum happened? The 16th century, BCE, or the 1st century? We're not talking in a realm of time. He was trying to explain to the Bacher, he's trying to grasp it like a historical story. This is meta-history. This is what drives history. So it's beyond history. It's before there was a before, because time is also a creation. Zman is a nivra. So it's happening now also, yeah. Anything that happens beyond time is always happening, because it's beyond Zman. It's not in an inyan of Zman, right? When you say Haya Hoiva V'yiyah, it's hard for us to be Toifus because we live under the tyranny of time. So our concept of reality is in time. Like, when did it happen? Is it going to happen? Is it happening? Did it happen? That's what's called Haya, Hoiva, V'yiyah. And you can't live without that. I mean, that's the structure. It's the fabric of creation. It's not an additional thing to creation. It's the fabric of creation. If you take this away from people, it spells insanity. It happens. There's certain states of consciousness, and it's not easy to deal with. It's not, without getting into the details, but the states of consciousness where there's no past, present, and future, and you need a lot of, you get nullified. Without bittul at that point, without complete surrender, can gut meshugavera. There's a good reason for it, because it's the structures of life. Zman is it's not some mistake, it's not a random thing. But it's important to understand this, because Haya, Hoiva, V'yiyah, the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, right, it says it's Haya, Hoiva, V'yiyah, it's all one word. To say that it's all one word. In other words, time is a dimension. Time is an emanation. Time is an expression. It's a certain expression, of a very important expression. We're very thankful for that expression because that's our brain structure is, it's really a, Yeah, people don't understand. When you take away Ein Sof from science, you destroy it. You destroy it. Like just this example, that our brains are synchronized in a way that they mirror the structures of time. Just think about that, that all of our brains, including animal brains, including insects, trees, every organism is structured in a way that it channels reality in a dimension of time. That's what the Rebbe always says. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, because I don't exactly understand what I'm saying, but something I'm saying, I think, that all of Zman, it's a dimension. It's a dimension of Ein Sof, the way it's compressed in this reality. Yeah. So all of this happens as a result of tzimtzum, as we will see. So what's the tzimtzum in Ein Sof? I was trying to say something. You're very good. Yeah. So it's not talking. You're talking about something that's higher than Zman, and in fact, the whole inyan of Zman was created as a result of tzimtzum. Not just man, but many other things, as we'll see. Our whole word reality, the word reality is a post-Tzimtzum product.
Space-time. Science is one.
Yeah. That's what Einstein revealed, that space and time is one entity. Yeah. So just like space it's a dimension, right? It's a dimension of existence that exists in space. Can existence exist out of space, right? Where are you going to put the table? Where are you going to put the planets? Where are you going to put the stars? You need. The Vilna Gaon says, "Bereishis bara l'kibbutz hashamayim v'sa'aretz." He says in that pasuk, you have three things, the three dimensions of creation: time, space, matter. Bereishis bara l'kim doesn't only mean in the beginning God created. It means God created the beginning. Bereshis, the concept of beginning, the reality called beginning, bar elakim, it's a creation. Once you have time, now you have es hashamayim. Hashamayim is space, and eretz is matter. And the three is like a trio, the Three Stooges. It's a trio that's, it's like the Three Stooges, yeah? They make us all crazy. Time, space, and matter, right? Welcome to the club. This is a trio that's indivisible, because can matter not exist in time? Tell me, every piece of matter exists in time. It was a minute ago, and a minute, and it's now, and then it's going to be in a minute later. And it goes through, all changes happen because of time. It gets older and older and older. And where you're going to put it, you need space. You need space. So time, space, and matter, it's all bereshis, but it's all a bria, it's all a dimension. It's a dimension of existence. And in that dimension, that is reality, because those are the edges of reality. We don't go further. Yeah, talk to the brain beyond time. I don't know what you want. Stop bothering me. As the Mishnah speaks about malafanim, malaacha, there's certain limits that a person needs to respect. So when you say that tzimtzum haya here doesn't mean it happened, 5,785 years ago. Haya is, we call it haya because it's also from the past, but haya means when you say in the past on a conceptual level, right? That there's a certain higher dimension of reality in which you understand that there was a tzimtzum, and there is a tzimtzum. But maybe it's always happening. I just wanted to clarify that. Shahu,
When you say something is pre-something, it doesn't necessarily mean it's before.
Right.
Like pre-verbal would be
Yeah.
not necessarily.
Excellent. When you say it's a pre-verbal experience, it doesn't necessarily mean in time. It's eichos, it's a certain quality. Yeah. Even in seichel, right? If you say 2 plus 2 equals 4. As a result of that, 4 minus 2 equals 2. You have to teach a child first 2 plus 2 equals 4 before he could conclude that 4 minus 2 equals 2. So 2 plus 2 equals 4 precedes 4 minus 2 equals 2. But does it precede it? Was there a time when 2 plus 2 equaled 4? And 4 minus 2, sorry for my example, but it's a good example, no? It's a very good example. Sometimes simple examples. Was there ever a time that 2 plus 2 equaled 4 and 4 minus 2 didn't equal 2? There was never such a time. Not that I know of. Not that I can understand. I don't know. Maybe in quantum physics there's something like that. You'll figure that out. I knew there must be a concept that 2 plus 2 equaled 2 and 4 minus 2 did not equal 2. Until Isaac Newton ruined that. Yeah.
There is the illusion of tzimtzum in how the universe, because so basically formulas don't work. The same thing in the universe, in the center of galaxy, in the middle of black hole. There's such an infinite density that our formulas of time doesn't work. That
Beautiful.
time is the concept in the middle of the whole doesn't breaks all the mathematical formulas.
Nice. So you give me an example of a black hole, that in the middle of the black hole, the density is so ferocious, it's so infinite, that all of the formulas collapse, including time.
There's no time there.
Yeah.
It will be there will be no
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
In the middle of the black hole, you can observe the entire universe without
So you can observe the whole universe without time,
getting
without any passage of time. It could be 5,000. You could be 5,000 years old, but you're not 5,000 years old. No time passed. Huh? Yeah, it's just if you're going to the black hole, there won't be anybody to tell the story. It's going to be Bittel telling the story of Bittel, but the concept. Yeah.
unless you take your camera with you.
Yeah, yeah. Another very good example of the black hole is we call it a black hole, yeah, because it's black, right? It's dark. But what's the real reason for it? It has less light or more light? The answer is it actually has more light than anything else in the universe. The power, the gravitational pull is so deep that it doesn't allow any light to escape. Everything emits light. Everything transmits light. That's what light is. And it transmits it on different frequencies and wavelengths in what's called electromagnetic spectrum. And then the question is how much we perceive the light being emitted. The black hole, because of the intensity of the gravitational pull, it doesn't let any light escape. So what do we call it? Pure darkness. Black hole. It's the only thing that's black because there's not a drop of light. You know why? Because all the light is there. So the paradox here, thank you for bringing up that example, is an incredible example for what we're going to learn. No, very powerful. When he says here, behelim achahelim is be'ilui achar ilui, right? It's the same thing. When I'm looking at it, it's pure black. It's really black hole. It's not. There's a reason for it. To the point that for many years, it was only a concept. It was a theory that had to be proven because you couldn't see it. By definition, you couldn't see it. But it was a theory based on various other observations that there must be such a reality in the world. Right? Because you couldn't have direct contact with it because there was no hisgalus. How do I have contact with something when there's no revelation, when there's no transmission of light? Light means expression, transmission. I'm emitting something from me that you could know about it. That's what all light is. That's what Oid is, as we're going to see. That's what Oid Ein Sof is. The Oid of Ein Sof. The Oid Ein Sof, which is also Ein Sof. So here you have a very powerful metaphor, which is very good to take into consideration, as we will see, for this Nekuda. I'll call upon him. So he says, this inyan of L'mayla Adin Ketz, this generally is the Tzimtzum in Ein Sof. Shehu is almus ha'or v'iskalelus batzmusa yizbarach. What is the Tzimtzum? Usually everybody translates it Tzimtzum. The light was concealed, the light was suspended, the light was filtered, the light is condensed, the light is very, very limited, it shrinks, there's only a drop of it. He says the real definition of Tzimtzum is this almos, the concealment of the oid, and it's hiskalelus, it's becoming subsumed from the word klal, like when you go into the klal, from the prat to the klal. A prat is when something is individuated, it's specified. In halacha, in Parashat you have what's called peret in the grapes, right? So from the word prat, proteus, it hangs, it hangs on its own. So prat is when it's specified. Klal is when you're subsumed in the collective. So hiskalelus is when it becomes subsumed. Ba'atzmusa yizbarach, in his essence, that's what Tzimtzum is. So is Tzimtzum an aliyah for the oir or a yedida for the oir? On one level, of course, it's a descent. It's got concealed. It's not here. At least it's not present in a way that I can experience it. But he's giving here the definition. What's Tzimtzum? Tzimtzum is the aliyah and the hiskalelus ba'atzmusa yizbarach, in the essence that transcends light. That's really what Tzimtzum is. The ramifications of this, that this definition of Tzimtzum that came from the Alter Rebbe, as we will see, is really the revolution of understanding how Chassidus perceives the entire reality and the universe based on how it interpreted and understood the Arizal's Chiddush of Tzimtzum. This is the quote from the Maimon Basi Lagani of the Rebbe Rayatz. These words: "What Oirin Sof L'mayla Adin Ketzes." So first you had Lamata Adin Tachlis, then you had L'mayla Adin Ketz. Now here I just want to make a clarification. The great Mekabalim of the last generations took the Zohar very, very seriously. They were Medayik in Zohar, and here you have a combination. You have both the Alter Rebbe and the Vilna Gaon, and the different schools of Kabbalah, but the common denominator was that the Zohar was considered Kodesh Kodashim. So the words in the Zohar are analyzed like words in Mishnayos, like even words in Tanakh, very, very specifically. It's not just somebody writing some mystical dreams that they had last night, and it's just their diary. When the Zohar says, "Oirein soif l'mayla den ketzel l'mata den tachlis," so the previous chapters of Basi Lagani asked a question. It seems like redundant. You said Oirein soif. That's it. You said it. You don't have to say anything else. Oirein soif means the light is infinite. If it's infinite, it goes up and it goes down. In fact, specifying that it goes up and down actually eclipses and minimizes your point. Yeah. There's no up and down. That's your whole point. Oirein soif is much better. Oirein soif. You thought people fell asleep while you said it, so let them read it again. I should say but we repeat things because you're not sure the Olam chapped. Yeah, this one was texting. I don't mean the Olam here, but you know what I mean. This one was texting. This one was ADDing. This one is ADHD. This one probably did it. So you repeat. You try to do other adjectives so it sounds like you're saying something else, but you're not. Yeah, hopefully, which is fine. In writing, you have to be more mitzumtzum, more precise. When it comes l'mashal to Torah shebeksav, you don't say such a thing. If it says it again, you have to know why. And the same is true also, a text like Mishnayos, like the Rambam says is Loshen Kotzer, V'kol Inyanim Rabim. Every word is precise. You see from the Gemara how seriously they take the text of the Mishnayos. Here it's not just redundant, you're actually minimizing the story. Oirein Soif tells me much more than L'mayla and Lamata. L'mayla and Lamata is now it's going up, it's going down. So now you'll ask, so why did Uncle Moshe make a song up, up, down, down, down? And the answer is, because Uncle Moshe wanted a song. And if he would just say, Hashem is infinite, that would be the end of the song. You need a song. So immediately you have to go up, up, down, down, right, left, and all around. But essentially, once you said Oirein Soif, L'mayla and Lamata, you're just ruining the story now. On the contrary, you're telling me, I'm going up, I'm going down. Plane goes up and the plane goes down, and it's not Ein Soif. The whole musig of Maila and Mata means that it's not Ein Soif. It's a contradiction. So what's Pshat Oirein Soif l'mayla den ketzel l'mata den tachlis? First of all, what's the chiddush? You said Ein Soif. I believed you. Ein Soif means there's no Soif. That means Ein Ketz. What do you give me another word, another word, another word? And not only it's redundant, as I said, you're undermining what you're saying. So here, Chassidus is Mechadesh, is Megala reveals that no, the Zohar is saying three separate things. And each one is deeper than the other one. Oirein Soif is the light is Ein Soif. And why is the light Ein Soif? Because it's light of the Ein Soif, so it's Ein Soif. Real light reveals the source of the light. That's the job of light. Light is supposed to communicate the source. That's what light is. That's the best definition of light. The expression of the source. There's of course the question, how much am I capable of receiving? That depends on my eyes, depends on my brain. Right? We all know in physical light there's colors that I can't see. There's sounds that I can't hear, not because they don't exist. The retina of my eye doesn't have the sensors, the receptacles it's called. Right? The what's the word? The receptacles will have to... The receivers to be able to absorb it, or the brain can't translate it. Like it brings it to the brain says, scratch it, it doesn't exist. We're very sophisticated in that way. If I can't interpret it, it doesn't exist. Like we do psychologically, I can't explain it, it doesn't exist. Maybe it exists and you just can't explain it. Nah, it doesn't exist. Much better, much easier. To say that it exists and I can't explain it, that opens up a terrible Pandora box. What else exists that I can't explain? That's terrible. So now I have to ask, maybe it exists and it just doesn't work with me. The moment you go into a place of bittul, it's the exact opposite. The more you can't explain it, probably the more it exists. And you're comfortable with that. Right? That's why it's so important This the experience of surrender is so important, not just for spirituality, it's important for knowledge. It's important for real wisdom. There's an expression in Sifrei Musar, Kol Gei Shoita. Now, this is not an English word, so it's in Hebrew. Kol Gei is Gimel Yud Aleph. Every arrogant person, Kol Gei, from the word Goe, Balgaiva. Kol Gei, Gimel Yud Aleph, Shoita. It's a lashon in the Sifrei Musar. I think Shevet Musar or others. Why? This very brilliant people. The answer is it's a definition. It's 1 + 1 = 2. Kol Gei is be'etzem a shaita. You don't have to be a shaita to be a shaita. We already know you're a shaita. Because the definition of chachma is kayachma. Harayas hanoilad. You're ready to be surprised. You're ready to be shocked. The moment the person is in a place of arrogance, they right away eclipse. They deprive themselves from anything that doesn't fit their gaiva. So how much wisdom are you deprived of? And it's not just arrogance, it's all the types of, all the fears, all the disorders, the dysfunctionality that paralyze us. They not only deprive the people around us, how much more do they deprive the people themselves from experiencing life? You know, it's like you're in a prison and you decide that the prison is the ultimate place of liberty. It's like a person locked up in a closet and they so don't know it and they're so afraid of acknowledging that the closet becomes the expansiveness of the universe. And then they build a philosophy around it. Right? It's like the argument between the the twins in the womb of the mother, if there's a world outside of the womb, right? You know that one? One fetus tells the other one, you know, I once read that there's a whole world outside of this stomach. It's like a Welt with sunrise, with sunset, with oceans, with mountains, with planets. And the other one says, you're crazy. You're a radical believer, blind faith. This is it, you know, this is reality. Make yourself comfortable here because Zeo, you know, poitehei misascha, poitehei kfurascha, you know, this is it. Yeah? And they're arguing for 9 months. And how do you convince one that it's wrong? How? You're going to have another argument and another argument, another argument. You first have to be born. Once you're born, the argument stops. You know, that's really the experience of birth, redemption. It says Golus is compared to pregnancy and Geula is compared to birth. And it's a very, very profound comparison, experientially. Now you're going to have to remind me how I got into this. You're also on ADHD today, huh? Hmm? Understanding that we don't understand. Yeah, that's, yeah.
That the Mata and the Maila are not superfluous.
Yeah. So there's 3 inyanim. The sequence I was looking for. I knew what we were talking about. Gedenknecht. Okay. I do know. You have to have the kalim to be toifus certain oitis. And if my brain doesn't understand it, my brain tells the eyes it doesn't exist. That's why there's certain colors that we don't register. It's fascinating. Not because it doesn't exist, because I decided it doesn't exist, because it's easier for my brain. The brain needs to make sense of the universe. That's why control is so important. I come into a room, I need to make sense. I need control. And by the way, whenever there's a moment in your day and your night when that need for control is being challenged, that's always the space where growth happens. Because that's the moment you're going to choose either to go back into more control, which means anger, or something similar, or you'll actually surrender the need for control. So as long as you're not being triggered in the sense that you're not losing control, there's no growth. Because it's predictable. You know, everything is comfortable. So it's fine. It's like an exercise. You know, if I'm just lifting 5 pounds every day for 50 years, okay, it's nice, but that's not where it's happening. It's not where your muscle is growing. It's the resistance. The same is true psychologically. So the moment, you know, that need for control is being triggered very, very badly, that need to figure it out, to have it structured, to work it out. So now is where choice happens. Either there's chaos, there's more control, there's anger, there's running away, which all makes sense. It's the terror of the animal consciousness to live in a very scary and dangerous world. It makes sense. The brain says, if I don't understand it, you never saw it. It doesn't exist. Or this is the moment of transcendence. This is the moment when you stretch. You really stretch. You flex. You flex your muscle. You flex your spiritual muscles. And you start going into a higher reality, a higher space. Try it out. You'll see. It's a very scary and very liberating experience. It's the most scariest experience, these moments. And nobody sees it. It's a very internal, because if you tell it to somebody, you're a baby. You're a baby, right? Because if people don't understand that struggle, I'm a baby in my way, you're a baby in your way. But like the Baal Shem Tov once said, sometimes all of Avodas Hashem is about one thought. Sometimes all of Avodas Hashem is dealing with one machshava, one thought. And how true is that? That sometimes it's really one thought. That's where your service of God lie right now. In an hour, there's been a different avodah, but right now it's about dealing with one nagging machshava where you have to stay in the place of control. Yeah, it's always one thing, but I'm saying his point is one thought. It's not a drama. It's not a big drama unfolding in front of me. There's 100,000 beautiful taivas that are attracting me, and obviously, me and Yosef have to fight together to run away from Eishes Potiphar. So it's a very dramatic avodah that you have, and they have all the Vayemayim videos, the beautiful Vayemayim videos to tell you how to do that, which is amazing. But sometimes it's a very intimate, internal, what some other people would call a little babyish thought. You're not even going to say it to somebody because it's like, this is what a mature person is thinking about. Yeah, this is what most mature people think about when they're triggered. At that moment, you're not so mature. We're 3-year-olds who are being triggered. So that's the moment of the bittul. That's the moment. So all of Oir, so now let's understand. All of Oir, I was explaining because all of Oir means revelation. In revelation, there's always how much you're capable of receiving, how much you're not capable of receiving. But that's the difference between Oir and Gilui. Gilui is how much you're capable of receiving. Oir is the transmission and the revelation of the essence. There's light frequencies that are coming that are not begilui because my brain can't absorb them. So the Oir is here. A bird can see colors that I don't see. The Gilui is not here, for me at least. Oir is the expression of the source. That's what Oir is. The source being revealed. It's a transmission of the source. Gilui is how much is actually absorbed, how much is actually revealed. That's why he uses the words, we'll see Heder Oir, Heder Gilui, 2 things. So what are the 3 things in the Zohar? Oir Ein Sof, Lamailad, and Ketz Lamatam. First of all, is Oir Ein Sof. The Oir is Ein Sof. Why is the Oir Ein Sof? Because it's the Oir of Ein Sof. Yeah, that's what it is. It's Ein Sof. It's the revelation of Ein Sof. It's the hergish. It's the derher. In Yiddish, it's called derher. The manifestation. The manifestation of Ein Sof. What would Ein Sof be like without Oir? I don't know. We wouldn't talk about it. What would Ein Sof be like without Oir? We wouldn't talk about it. It would be Ein Sof. What is something without light? It is. It is. Light means, because you emit light, I can see you. If you wouldn't emit light, I wouldn't be able to see you. You're still there, but I wouldn't be able to see you. There would be no experience of Ein Sof. No experience. There would be Ein Sof, but there would be no experience of Ein Sof. Oir is the beginning, the genesis of experience. Because it's transmission. It already says, I want this to be communicated. Now the question is, what frequency of it are you capable of? Oh, that's a big question. That's a big question. That depends on your brain, depends on your eyes, depends on your sensitivity, depends on the fabric of your existence. Can we experience Oir Ein Sof based on our kelim? How could limited kelim experience Oir Ein Sof? Okay, so this is already where it becomes a whole parsha. But we're talking Oir, and its essence is Ein Sof. Now the Zohar says there's 2 other inyanim: Lamata den Tachlis and Lamaila den Ketz. Lamata den Tachlis is not saying that the Oir is Ein Sof. That you said. You're not adding and you're not contradicting. You're saying a new inyan. That even the way it comes down Lamata, what's Lamata? Lamata means in a lower world where you don't see Ein Sof, where everything is finite, you should know that the Oir Ein Sof is still manifested. It's still manifested Lamata, outside of the realm of Oir. It's essentially a manifestation you could still experience, even with its limitations, adein tachlis, even in the lowest levels of reality. there can be a perception and some revelation of the Ein Sof. Huh? Yeah. Say it in physics, no?
So in every matter, in every atom, there is a manifestation of Ein Sof. Why? Because electrons is just the vibrations. It's all white wavelengths as well. We're not even sure if there is a matter at that point. I mean, maybe there is, don't quote me, right? They still debating. But it's ultimately it's all frequencies and vibrations. I mean,
So you're saying in every atom, the electrons are essentially frequencies and vibrations.
some manifestations of light.
So it's all manifestations of light. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. So that's Lamata Aden Tachlis. And that's what the previous 3 chapters, Perik Yud Beis, Yud Gimel, Yud Dalet, and the previous years of Basi Lagani focused on. And if you want, you could hear them over, because very geschmack in my modem, all about Lamata Aden Tachlis. Now it's Lamayla Aden Ketz. What's the chiddush of Lamata Aden Tachlis? The Oid is Ein Sof. I know that the Oid is Ein Sof. I don't have an issue with that. The Zohar is saying something deeper. Even Lamata, where there's no way, where you don't see Ein Sof, where you don't even see Oid. We live in a world where there's apparently complete disassociation. So this Oir is manifested and comes out, and there are manifestations of it and ramifications of it in the lowest places of reality, where if you look well, you'll see the frequency of Ein Sof, so to speak. I'm saying the word frequency, even though it's not a frequency because it's Ein Sof, but I'm just using that word.
It would only matter if it's accessible. Otherwise,
Yeah, and that's the point, that it's accessible. And it's, even though it's Ein Sof, and that's a long explanation. What does that mean? Aren't you contradicting yourself? Because you're saying Lamata Aden Tachlis. So it's not saying that the Ein Sof goes Lamata because it's Ein Sof. That the Ein Sof of the Oid is expressed even in the realms of Lamata Aden Tachlis, which l'chayr is the opposite of Ein Sof. And for this he explained how the whole creation represents and is a manifestation of Ein Sof. And va'ata mechayes kulam Yeah. Yeah. So there could be some hasaga, some understanding, some experience, some gilui of infinity in every nekuda. And that's what we see, and we spoke about this in previous years, that even today, even in the world of science and physics, wherever you touch reality, you see Ein Sof. And that's what's driving scientists and physicists so mad, or it's making them so exciting, depends how much depends how much bittul they have. If you don't have bittul, it gets you mad. If you have bittul, it's exciting. Wow, more Ein Sof, more Ein Sof, more Ein Sof. I told you from the Malbim. You get more excited. That all depends on bittul. The Tzemach Tzedek writes, why is it that Aristotle, the more he was masig, the more he understood, he became more arrogant. And the Rambam, the more he understood, the more humble he became. They may have had access to the same information. The Rambam held from Aristotle very, very highly. He writes about him, Gevaldike Inyanim. Huh? I'm not talking the Ramban, I said the Rambam. The Rambam. He held from Aristotle very hard, very highly. The answer is, so the Tzemach Tzedek writes, because by the Rambam the template was Bittul Hayesh. And the more he understood, the more he saw the Bittul Hayesh to the eye. It's like, wow. And Aristotle, the template was Yesh. So the more I understand the Yesh, the more Yesh I am, the more control I have. The Rambam, the more he understood, the less control he had, the more he got excited. Oh, I really have no control, I'm a Chaya. Like we learned in the previous Maimah, you remember about giving up, right? About breathing, you surrender. The soul wants to surrender. It doesn't need to hold on. Not interested in holding on. Control is a need of the ego that's detached from the source, and it needs to compensate for its void. So the Rambam got excited. He saw the more the bittul hayesh, the more you know, the more you don't know. It's a fact. Or the more you know, the more stupid you become. What does that depend on? Why is it some people, the more they know, the more stupid they become? Like a lot of professors today. I once heard Dennis Prager, I don't remember, I once heard somebody say, you have to have a few PhDs to be so stupid. Huh? You have to be very educated to be so dumb. It's true. You know, like, somebody did an amazing documentary, I think it's called What is a Woman? Tom Welsh? Huh? Matt Walsh. Very brilliant, right? So he goes to Africa, to tribes, and he says, what is a woman? And they start laughing, like little kids would giggle, like this nut job is coming to Africa and has to figure out what is a woman, like as though nobody knows what is a woman. But then you speak to professors with doctorates, they don't know what a woman is. They absolutely don't know what a woman is. It's fascinating. It's like fascinating. Wisdom can either expand your universe or reduce your universe to the point that reality even is not reality. It's very tragic. What is that based on? Reishis Chachma, Yiras Hashem. It's all bittul. Reishis Chachma, Yiras Hashem. The moment you don't have Yiras Hashem, it's the end of Chachma. Now it's all bias, manipulation, exploitation, emotional stuff, microaggressions. You use your education to say and justify the stupidest ideas. You use it. You're a smart person, no question. You're a very smart person. You have 2 PhDs. But you're as dumb as they come. I trust a 6-year-old. A 6-year-old, sometimes much more. You wouldn't trust these people to be babysitters. There's a guy who once wrote a book, Paul Johnson. You know Paul Johnson? He wrote The History of the Jews. He was not Jewish. He was a Christian, a philo, somebody. He really loved Jews. He wrote a book called The History of the Jews. Amazing book from a non-Jewish perspective. So he has another book called Intellectuals. So he writes over there that some of the greatest intellectuals of the 20th century who have shaped the mindset of the 20th century, if you study their life, you wouldn't trust them 5 minutes with your kids. With your kids, you wouldn't trust them. He goes through some big names. Rousseau, Karl Marx, some very big names. You wouldn't trust them to babysit your kids for 20 minutes. They were toit meshuga, and their personal lives were a disaster. But they're the ones who set the tone of how society has to be shaped in order to make a new world. So the Tzemach Tzedek says the Rambam, the more he was masig, the more you see bittul hayesh, the more excited he got, less arrogant, fakert. So that's the chiddush of lamata adein tachlis. That even in a place, not that the Oid is Ein Sof, we know the Oid is Ein Sof, that it's expressed wherever you look in the world, you're going to see Ein Sof, wherever you look. Even in the lowest places, Adin Tachlis. What's Oid Ein Sof L'mayla Adin Ketz? That's what he says now. Oid Ein Sof L'mayla Ketz is the opposite. It goes higher and higher and higher. Adin Ketz, he says, Behelam achehelam be'ilu achar ilu, more concealment, less revelation. The opposite of lamata. It's not saying that the oid is ain't. So we know the oid is safe. Saying a big chiddush now in the oid. What's the chiddush? Moed the kinyanim here. That the oid, I don't want the word should fail the idea, that the oid has a secret to it. And the secret is that this oid is l'mayla adin ketz. And what's the secret of l'mayla adin ketz? What we're calling oid ein sof can totally appear as concealment in the most radical, absolute ways, which is the opposite of light. All of light is, the definition of light means there's light in the room. Could you put on the light? What does putting on the light mean? We want to see. All of light means light is the ability to see. Why do you want light? To see. What does light accomplish? It allows me to see. The fact that the sun or any object emits light allows me to see it. If it wouldn't emit light, I wouldn't see it. The black hole, like we spoke before. Comes the Zohar and says, I want to tell you a secret about Oid. Oid is Ein Sof, I know. But now we're going to tell you something. That Oid also has in it l'mayla adin ketz, just like this Ein Sof is expressed, even lamata adin tachlis, even in places that are the opposite of Oid, like Klippa, Sitra Achara, this world. That if you look well, you will see Ein Sof. So I'm now going to tell you the opposite direction. That l'mayla adin ketz, this Oid is manifested and expressed in concealment after concealment after concealment, higher and higher and higher and higher. And that's Oid Ein Sof. Now, you weren't supposed to understand what I just said, don't worry. I just said it to say the words. Say the words.
It sounds like it'd be a much bigger trap.
Huh?
This could be a much bigger trap than the other stuff.
This can be a much bigger trap, and it's also a much bigger chiddush than lamata adin tachlis, because this is completely going out of the realm of and this is really where the whole. This is one of the biggest, I would say, chidushim of the Alter Rebbe. That the Ein Sof doesn't always look like Ein Sof. It could look like the biggest tzimtzum in the world, but it's still Ein Sof. So l'cha'ira, you would think what that means is like this famous song, "Afilu b'hastora b'toich hastora." Yeah. Yeah. In other words, Hashem is here. That itself is a powerful idea. But here the idea is much deeper. It's Ein Sof. It's not just that Hashem is here. It's that the Ein Sof is l'mayla adin tachlis. You're not saying that God is present. We'll soon see the Moir, the Oir. But the Chiddush is that there's a chelik of Ein Sof. In other words, that Sof kol Sof, the Oir, which means revelation, and the ultimate concealment are one. That the ultimate concealment and the ultimate revelation are one, which just changes the entire experience of concealment in the world. We'll see. I'm just giving a little sketch here of the ideas that are coming. Yeah.
In the black hole is all the light.
Atazai. Not that the black hole has no light, but God is there. Im esak shamayim shamata atzia sha'il hineka. We learned last year in the Maimer. Right? He's there. We're not saying that. That's important, very important.
This is where in history,
But that the black hole is full of light. Very good. That's why I said that mashal. The black hole is filled with light. It's part of it. No, it's black. You're crazy. It's not a light. It's the worst. There's no light whatsoever. No, there's actually more light. Eid Ein Sof. Not that the Eid is. The Zohar is not saying the Eid is Ein Sof. We know the Eid is Ein Sof. The Zohar is saying that the Eid Ein Sof is sometimes manifested. L'mayla adin gets higher and higher and higher, more concealed, and that's Eid Ein Sof. And we're calling it Eid Ein Sof. Just like lamata adin tachlis, it extends into places that l'chayra don't reveal anything of God. They still reveal God. And here it extends in places that absolutely don't reveal anything. In the concealment.
Turns out the higher you go, the darker it is.
Yeah, that we'll see.
but the part of history, some people took this in the wrong way.
What do you mean?
Took Basi or
Yeah, of course. Everything can be taken in the wrong way, everything.
there's a bigger trap in this direction than the other. The other
Of course.
side is positive.
Of course, yeah. There's a bigger trap in this direction, of course. Yeah.
Without that ore, which is the case, actually the ore, lemata, the tachlis cannot be even perceived. Why? It's like, you see, without that nikuda of black hole in the middle of the galaxy, there
Yeah.
would not be gravitational pull, so that matter would not even exist.
Right.
So without that light, which is so hidden and so powerful, there is no fabric of gravitational pull. There is
Yeah.
no space and time to begin with.
Beautiful. Now, if you understood what I said now, it wouldn't make sense. Like, I hope you didn't. Meaning, it's intense. It's deep. I'm just giving you just like the outline to be able to see what's going to be developed. Now, this is going to be developed very, very intricately, and amazing. Relative to these realities, quite clear, in a way that we can relate to it. So he starts explaining. The Bishleim, quoting these lines from Basi, I said, the Bishleim b'negei le'yin de'erin sof lamata mata adin tachlis kivan she'erin sof be'etzem u'kamei shu lifnei hatzimtzum muven geide le'inyan sheb'amshachasi lamata ad lamata she'en lamata memenu she'zeh b'ofen de'ein tachlis l'gabe kamei shu lifnei hatzimtzum. Bishleim, which that means I could understand. He's asking a question. When you say lamata adin tachlis, I get it. Since Ein Sof, the light of Ein Sof be'etzem, is lifnei hatzimtzum, it's beyond any restrictions and concealments. So we can understand the gewaldike hafla, the amazing, stupendous achievement when you say that this light can be expressed and manifested and communicated into the lowest places, which are ein tachlis. You completely can't compare it to the way it's lifnei hatzimtzum. The fact that this which l'cha'ira, it needs an environment of Ein Sof to be expressed, And you're saying that it can come out even lamata mata in places that are infinitely incomparable to the reality of Lifnei Tzimtzum. Wow. Okay, amazing. Aval einay moving, ma'wing in dein sof l'mayla den ketz. Ade belavach in nimtzoy in sof Lifnei Tzimtzum. Or ma'wing in eis l'mayla den ketz. But when you say oid in sof l'mayla den ketz, what's the chiddush? Yeah, the oid is Lifnei Tzimtzum. Of course it's l'mayla den ketz. It's higher and higher and higher and endless. That's what it is. Huh? That's what it is. Al zeh mevaya ba'mayme show l'mayla mayla den ketz bebchinas helem ha'oid. So this is the whole vart in the Maimer, that Lamaila, it's not telling you that the Oir is higher and higher and higher and infinite because it expresses infinity. Yeah, that's what it is. You already said Oir Ein Sof. I believed you the first time. You're saying something else. Lamaila, it goes higher. Higher means in the concealment of light, that this Oir could be expressed in the absolute absence of expression. In the absence of expression, it's expressed, and in that itself, what does absence of expression mean? Deeper and deeper and higher and higher. Why? Because the more concealment, the really higher it is, not lower it is, and that's where Ein Sof is. Or beklalo, so when you're not tzimtzum. And this is the whole concept of tzimtzum, which is going to be explained. What is tzimtzum? You hear what he's? You hear Vart? Good question. You're just saying there's no expression. Where's there an expression? That's why you need the mic. No, it's not more lamata dein tachlis. Lamata dein tachlis is gilui. There's a gilui everywhere, which is amazing. Here the chiddush is, we're talking about helam. We're talking about lamayla mayla dein ketz. Helam acha helam, iluy achar iluy. But that is Oid Ein Sof. He's having kloisa nefesh. What just went through your mind? Share it with us. You can't. Okay, that's fair. You don't have Isis. Better.
Just did.
Huh? You just did. Very good. Okay. In the Maimonim of Basi Lagani, already from the first year, the Rebbe would say over a Torah from every one of the Rebbes, from the Baal Shem Tov all the way to his father-in-law. I mean, the Maimon is from his father-in-law, but he would say a Torah from the Baal Shem Tov, a Magid, all the way to Alter Rebbe, the Mitzvah Rebbe, the Motzadi Rebbe, Marash Rebbe, Rashab. As in the development of the theme of Basi Lagani, he didn't just say a Torah, meaning the Maimon had a theme, and each Rebbe, he showed how he added to that theme in the revelation of Chassidus. So the Maimon Basi Lagani, besides everything else, he goes through the evolution, literally, so to speak, of Chassidus from the Baal Shem Tov in the theme of that year. Whatever that year is, he'll take a Torah that's connected and somehow to the theme. So that's what he starts now. He says a Torah from the Baal Shem Tov, and then a Torah from the Magid, and then a Torah from the Alter Rebbe. They're all talking about Tzimtzum, but they talk about it in different ways. Not really in different ways. But it's a development of how Tzimtzum was understood by the Baal Shem Tov, by the Magid, who was the student of the Baal Shem Tov, and the Alter Rebbe, who was the student of the Magid, the founder of Chassidus Chabad. And then he goes to the Mittler Rebbe and the other ones. And each one gives another dimension in the concept of Tzimtzum, the reality of Tzimtzum. And then from that, the picture is put together what the Baal Hailula, what the Rebbe Rayatz meant when he spoke about Lamayla, Mayla, then kept explaining what Tzimtzum is. So he starts off now with the Baal Shem Tov and the Magid. It's a Torah from the Baal Shem Tov. It's a very powerful Torah from the Baal Shem Tov about Tzimtzum. From the Baal Shem Tov's Torahs were so brief and so concise, it's very hard to understand the full depth of them. They contain everything, but it's like the seed of the tree, we spoke about. It has the whole tree, but it's very, very behelim, it's concealed. So this Maimon really dissects the words of the Baal Shem Tov, and then the Magid was a little more elaborate, but still very, very concise and brief. The Alter Rebbe developed at length, Chachma Bina Das. He landed, the spaceship landed, so now he could speak, yeah? Beautiful. Yeah. 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 They built on each other. Yeah. People don't realize, I'm not going to elaborate now on this, but people don't realize when you learn Chassidus Chabad, you're talking about 9 generations of geniuses. They weren't, you don't want genius on the level of the Alter Rebbe. That these are geniuses that come down once in 1,000 years. I mean, it's unique. The Rakachava used to say that 2 people knew how to learn. The Rakachava, he was not, he was like, his brilliance was beyond. Like the Meir Simcha once said, they said he has a good memory. They said he doesn't have a good memory. Everything is in front of him the whole time. It's not he doesn't remember anything. It's all in front of him. He doesn't remember anything. It was like the whole title was like Ashrei by him. Even more, Ashrei, reading Ashrei backwards. So, so he once said, yeah, very good. So there was one of the biggest Litvische Rosh Yeshivas, like considered one of the top. He came to the Rakachava, and the Rakachava spoke to him in learning, and he said, "Aguta Malamed." Like, he would be a good Malamed. That was his. He speared, So he once said that 2 people knew how to learn: the Rambam and the Alter Rebbe. The Rambam and the Alter Rebbe. The Rambam he considered his Rebbe, he's always quoting him, and the Alter Rebbe, the only one I saw in his Truvas, he writes Hagon Ha'amiti. And the Alter Rebbe writes Hagon Ha'amiti, the real Gon. So they once asked, what does it mean, knew how to learn? He says, knew how to learn means that he knew what Abaya was thinking when he said his Svara. He knew what Abaya was thinking when he said what he said. He knew what Abaya was thinking. Whatever, it's okay, but it needs explanation. But my point is, when you learn Chassidus, you're talking about 9 generations that built on each other. You don't have such a precedent in Jewish history. You have 9 generations came, and each one was not just a big mind, huge minds and huge hearts, and obviously very big souls. And each one built on the other one and developed it and elaborated it, literally all the way from the Baal Shem Tov to the Rebbe. So it's here you'll see it in the sugya of Tzimtzum. Tzimtzum is a very complicated sugya. And there's a huge machlokes about Tzimtzum in Kabbalah. We're going to see. So huge fights broke out about Tzimtzum. So intense that there was in a particular city they burnt the Sfarim of the Baal Shem. They burnt Savas or Rivosh because of what they understood was heresy and how he understood Tzimtzum. So it was a real controversy. And I'm not just talking about a controversy of rabble rousers, who like good action and a good fight. We're not talking about that. We're talking about great minds and great people who had serious vikuchim. And here you see how the sugya of Tzimtzum was tackled. But what's really the nekudah? The real nekudah is the avodah of it. Okay, you always say, the real chiddush here is the avodah of it. What's the avodah? So we're going to see the avodah after the haskalah, after the understanding. But the nekudah that's brought out in avodah is, in everybody's life, there's 2 parts. There's the part of revelation and there's the part of concealment. There's the lamata adein tachlis and there's lamayla adein ketz. Lamata adein tachlis means that wherever you look in a person's life, there's glimmers of light. Even in a difficult life, in a challenging life, everybody knows if you're objective and you look at life, there's glimmers of light and hope and things to look forward to and growth, etc. Even lamata mata adein tachlis, there's hashgacha pratis you could see, etc. But everybody's life also has different parts. And that's the concealments in your life. The concealments in your life is where the oid is not expressed. Those parts, if you'll ask a person, if there were a few things about your history or about your life that you could delete or you could redo, what would that be? If there's a year of your life that you could erase, if there's certain experiences of your youth or your teen years or your later years or certain choices you made, or other people made for you, right? What is it? And most people won't have to think so long what they would like to press Control, Alt, Delete on. That's not the gilui of your life. That's the concealment. Those are the parts of concealment. Those are the parts of darkness. What do we mean darkness? They eclipsed your life. They limited you. They crushed you. They may have even tortured you. And it's sometimes such deep things that you don't even know that it eclipsed you, which is even a greater darkness. The darkness that I know about is not as overwhelming as the darkness that I don't know about, because the darkness I know about, I could contextualize it. The darkness I don't know about defines everything, because I don't even, it's like the enemy from within that eats up everything, and he's not an enemy, he's my friend, What do they say? David HaMelech says, God, literally is one of my helpers, and I will see the defeat of my enemies. So there's an old vertal, Hashem li ba'izrai. Hashem, you know who I need you for? I need you for my friends. Ani Rebbe Sinai. My enemies already, I'll take care of. My friends, that's where I need you. My nechavedim, you know. With Israel, you have to worry with the peace treaties. If everybody was a clear enemy, it's fine. Ani Rebbe Sinai. Enemies are enemies. It's the friends that you got to be careful. When the enemy is identifiable, it's a much smaller enemy. When the enemy is your friend, that's your enemy. Because he's your friend. He's inside. He's your best friend. He's running the show. He's running the show because he's your friend. Right? Things that are repressed are much worse. It's called Rahanelim. So when you talk about Helim, there's Helim, Achehelim, Achehelim, Achehelim. It's concealed. Those aspects in life. That's already a different Nakuda in life.
Just like the Rebbe were down 9 generations, they expressed upon each other down. They're going upwards, we express upon.
So this is the avoid of this Maimer. Yeah, the emotional depth of this Maimer is to be able to re-experience the concealments in our life. There's the revelations in our life that we're very grateful for. We should always be grateful for that. That's the lamata adin tachlis. Here the focus is lamayla adin ketz. And for this, it's all about the seidat, it's inyan of tzimtzum. So the visceral, I don't want to say benefits, because it's more than benefits, it's life-changing. But the visceral results, the practical, concrete results of this whole beer is not to philosophically explain how tzimtzum works and what the Arizal exactly meant and what the words lamayla and ket meant. Avada, that's also, it's learning pnimiyus HaTorah, which is ein lamayla himenu. It's called das elikei avicha. But right after that, vavdeyu b'leiv of shalom. That to be able to re-experience, not only view, because view could be philosophical, intellectual, but to re-experience the concealments in a person's life, which are all a manifestation of tzimtzum, which here we're learning, it's all Oirein Soif L'mayla Deket. It's called Oirein Soif. And the fact that you're calling Oirein Soif, you're calling it Oirein Soif, that makes the whole, that tells the story. And that's why the Zohar is not repeating itself. It's saying 3 completely different things. Oirein Soif, number 1, period. And now there's 2 things. One is Lamata Adin Tachlis, which is itself pretty great. And then there's the biggest chiddush l'mayla adin ketz. And then the Rebbe is saying, and this is the treasure that's splurged to the soldiers at the end of the war when they have to achieve victory. So here it connects literally to contemporary history. Because this is of our generation. This is revealed in our generation. It wasn't revealed in previous generations. So people think this is the lowest generation. What do we know that other generations don't know? But that's exactly the point. It's not a contradiction. Because it's such a low generation in so many ways, so therefore there's a treasure that's splurged, dafka, for the foot soldiers, even if it's given through the generals, but it's for the foot soldiers, like we spoke yesterday about the pawns in the chess game, who need to get to the other side, so they must have this oitzer, because if not, you can't win the war.
We know more.
So I wouldn't say we know more, I don't think it's about that, but there's a certain hisgalus of ein soif, or Oirein Soif, which is Lamayla and Ches Lamata and Tachlis, that comes out in moments of history, which allow for a healing, and allow for a growth, and allow for a conviction, and allow for love and commitment and joy. And you'll say, why now? Why are all these modalities? What happened? We're so meshuga? We're so crazy? So everything that's in the world is a stakel barais. It comes from Torah. The Zohar says Hashem looked into Torah, and that's how He created the world. It's a blueprint. Any revelation in science, in physics, in medicine, in biology, in cosmology, in quantum physics, in string theory, it's all because of the revelation in Torah. Yeah, it's a shtalshalus. It's a like I said from the Zohar. In this year, the Zohar says, right, B'shnas sheish me'ez shana l'chaye noyach, the heaven, the wisdom above and the wisdom below explodes. It's a parallel of each other. Every chiddush that comes out in the world, in any field, including medicine, including healing, including psychology, whatever it is, cellular, what's it called, genetics, neuroscience, a tremendous chidushim happening now. Every month there's a psano, so we're going to find out about our brain, what nobody even imagined our brain is. It's all the Oitzer. It's the Oitzer expressed and manifested even in the Olam Haza Agashmi. Now, if you don't have eyes, so you take it with Klippa. You know, it's some new revelation in Johns Hopkins University or in a university in Germany. If you have open eyes, you understand that it's the process of Gilui Achdus Hashem. That's what it is. Making it in a way that's more palpable. Open AIs, yeah. Artificial intelligence is one of the greatest manifestations of what the Rambam says in Hilchos Malachim. There's going to come a time there won't be hunger, there won't be war, there won't be jealousy, there won't be negative competitiveness, and nobody will have what to do, the Rambam says. The whole world will be immersed in one thing: intimacy with God, experience of God. What's the Rambam talking about? Who's going to pay the mortgage? Very nice. Who's paying the mortgage? You? My father-in-law? Who's paying the mortgage? Who's paying tuition? But the Rambam is basically saying the world is going to reach a space where ultimately survival will be replaced by intimacy. Today we're in survival. Everybody got to survive, let's face it. Even the most expansive, enlightened souls among us. At some point, you know, the principal is calling, right? We need an appointment. Here we go. Survival mode. V'chuli v'chuli. But there comes a time, l'dasas Hashem b'levad. So this is how it all connects to the Basi Lagani, the Oitzer. That the ultimate Oitzer is Lamai Adin. It's even deeper than Lamata Adin Tachlis. Because Lamata Adin Tachlis is tremendously empowering. But what it empowers you is with the messages of positivity that it gives, which is incredible. The Lamai Adin Ketz is what just happened. You good? You process something? Download? From which planet? Yeah, I knew. I saw. I'm sensitive. I pick up energy. I saw that it wasn't from here. The question is if you want to share it, but better not. No, in a few minutes. After you come down from Klois HaNefesh, like him, you'll share it. Everybody goes on different journeys. I'm the only one who's not going on a journey because I have to talk Nabach. I have to sit and plop and plop and plop and plop and plop. So I'm the only one who, hopefully I could be a channel. If I could be a schus to be a channel. So this is the Nukud. I just want to learn the Torah from the Baal Shem Tov at least.
You didn't finish. You said that this is a positive, but not to the...
You want me not to remember what I said? No, what I was saying. No, I'm joking. I knew what I was saying. But the point is that in the real oitzer, the real treasure is the hidden treasure. What does it mean, the hidden treasure? That, listen, it's very emotional to say, but the point is, when we ultimately make peace with the darkest parts in our life, that's where Geula happens. Redemption happens when we make peace with the darkest parts of our lives. And it's not an easy thing to say because, you know, it's like people think, oh, yeah, sure, thank you. Now you're going to start preaching Ashgacha Pratis, and then you're going to say everything is beautiful and everything is good. And sometimes it's very patronizing, but it delegitimizes people's emotions. Yeah. That's why this is something that people have to come to experientially. It's not a preaching philosophy class about this. No. Lamata adin tachlis is the gilui. The lamata means like light comes down and it goes lower and lower and lower and lower. And even in a house, which is murky and full of dirty air, the light of the sun will reach it. The light of the sun will go. I'm just giving a mashal. Lamata will go lower and lower and lower. Even a place that's ain't tachlis, it's so far. Like vatzia sha'oil, hineka, I'll still find oil. The oil still comes down there. How? You have to understand how. So that was the previous years. He explained it in 3 different ways. In this Havos, in the creation of the worlds, and then in the Elikus that comes out in the worlds. Last year we spoke about it at length. This was the previous last 3 years. Lamaila den Ketzi's teaching. I understand the confusion. You're saying it sounds like Lamaila is revelation. It's like higher, and Lamata is low concealment. It should be that way, but that's the whole chiddush. That Helam is Ilui. Helam achar Helam is Ilui achar Ilui. Concealment is going up, not going down. Now, I know that doesn't make sense.
The more I can't see, it's there.
Yeah. The more I can't see, the more present it is. But not with the word present, in that we call present. The more you can't see, the more it's there.
Then when you do see it, when you do see it, it's kind of alternating back to the other side.
What you do see is lamata.
It'll show itself in the least likely places.
Yeah.
And then when
Yeah.
it's completely not revealed, that's where it's most there.
It'll show itself in the least likely places, and then when it's completely not revealed, it's really the most there in the highest sense. That's what it means. It's in the highest sense. It's the most there. It's intensity. It's, what do you say? Higher doesn't mean physically higher. Higher means its ultimate truth is actually being manifested. Now, this is not chas v'shalom to romanticize suffering. It's like, oh, great, let's all, become suffering agents of life and like start, what's it called, masochism. That's not the. But we all know life has concealment. We say, Al tevi'enu l'dei nisayim. Everybody wants tova nirva nigla and should have tova nirva nigla. Amen. L'mata ad tachlis. But the story of history is Lamaila, is also Lamaila adin ketz. And that's the vart, that it's Lamaila, it's Ilui achar Ilui. And that's why he said 2 lines, because the Tzimtzum is the going back to Atzmos. The going back to Atzmos, that's what Tzimtzum is. It's the going higher, it's not the going lower. Black hole, exactly, the black hole. Yeah. Why is it so important to call this light? Because then you ask a question. So that means if I see something, it's already ruined. If life is good and blissful and I feel God, don't do that, get out. Huh? So that's why the Alter Rebbe was mechadish that we called it. Zohar says Oirein Soif L'mayla Adin Ketz. That's also Oir. You're calling it Oir, but Oir means light. What's concealed is not light, because the ultimate. We're going to see the ultimate core is not dark and it's not light. It's the essence. And once you get that, it can be light, it can be dark, and the darkness can also be manifested in light. In other words, the concealment is only half of the picture. It's 50%. It's in order not to get stuck in the limitations of light. Once you can transcend the limitations of light and absorb the profundity of darkness, then you're touching the essence. Now you can go back into light. Okay, I'm jumping a little bit ahead of myself, but very good harder. That's the chiddush, that this is oir. It's not stam you saying it has a purpose. There's some hidden goodness. You're calling it oir inside, but oir inside is light. So don't say it's lamayla den ketz. No, it's lamayla den ketz. So the Zohar is not saying a line stam. That line in the Zohar is expressing. Can the unidentified become identifiable? Oid is always identifiable to some degree. The higher you go, the less identifiable. When you go to the essence, it's completely not identifiable, because it's completely beyond description, any revelation. In order for us in our world to experience the ultimate intimacy with Atzmos Ein Sof, it comes out in 2 opposite directions. In other words, I'll just say it, okay? Whatever, I'll say it. I'll say it in Oishis of Chassidus. Gilui and Helam are 2 opposites. Revelation and concealment are 2 opposites. But that polarity is the definition of reality. The moment you go to the ultimate reality beyond any definition, that's not a polarity anymore. But if the whole purpose of creation was intimacy with the divine on our terms, not only on his terms, meaning there's a relationship that you manifest, the dira b'tachtoinim, so how do the 2 come together? We don't live in Atzmos, we live b'tachtoinim. The answer is, when we learn how to fuse the paradox of Gilui and Helam, which can only come from that place of Atzmos, so then when you look at the Gilui and you look at the Helam, you don't get stuck in its expression, but you see it as just another manifestation of the ultimate source of infinity, and then the Gilui is not a trap and the Helam is not a trap. But the only way I could come to it is through working through that paradox in my own life. Because if I bypass that, then I'm not being human. And that's the key. If you're not going to be human in this process, then stop the process. Then you don't need tzimtzum. God could do whatever he wants. This whole thing, he needs tzimtzum. He doesn't need anything. You want to create a bug God. I believe you could create bugs. You want to create a mosquito, create a mosquito. You don't need no tzimtzum. You don't need no helam. You don't need anything. People learn this and they're like, Hashem had to do this in order to do this. He didn't have to do anything to do anything. You want to create an air condition, create an air condition. You want to create a black hole, create a black hole. You don't want to? Don't. Right, there was a shikr I grew up with. He lived in Crown Heights. It was a Bzalman the shikr. Anybody really remember the Bzalman the shikr? Eastern Parkway is an island. There's benches there. So he was with a Crown Royal bottle. Now, he wasn't just a regular alcoholic. He was a deep guy. He actually wrote songs in the 60s. He told me once he got royalties. He was an interesting guy, but then he fell into alcoholism. But he was a geschmack yid. So I used to sometimes verbring with him. Because, sometimes these people can give you deep insights into life that you can't get from regular, normal people who have to be normal. People who are not invested in being normal could sometimes share with you secrets that normal people don't have access to. Like we spoke yesterday about, shtus, right? Sometimes for insanity, you need insanity. So he would say very interesting things. So he once said, the opening pasuk in Torah is, Bereshis bara l'kimas hashamayim v'saaretz. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth. So the first Rashi, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Rashi says, Lo hayat tzarich lahaschil asatayr ela ma'chedesh azalachem. He didn't have to begin the Torah. So he says, everybody learns the Rashi wrong. You have to read like this. Bereshis bara l'kimas hashamayim v'saaretz. God created the world, heaven and earth. So Rashi says, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Lo hayat tzarich. There was no need. God created the world. This whole thing there was no need for it. Again, that was his experience of life. That's it. Boom. Commentary on God. God created the world. I really don't know why. Like this was a bad decision. It was a bad day. It was so unnecessary. Like, you really and that's deep, emotionally, it's a deep existential question. In fact, people on profound journeys of self-discovery or healing always touch this place. Was it really necessary? I'm not talking philosophically. I know philosophically it's a very big question. Why do bad things happen to good people, and theodicy and justice, whatever, all these big questions that they're talking about for 4,000 years and nobody knows what hit them. Because pain is stronger than everything. But I'm talking about existentially, emotionally, like, was it necessary? Not necessary mathematically. I don't know about that. But was it necessary? Was it necessary? Like, what's the experience? Like, if I have love in your heart and you have love in your heart, so where did our love come from? From a mindless cell that evolved over 25 billion. It just changed from 15 billion to 26 billion, by the way, if you didn't know. They're changing back, okay? So from a mindless cell that evolved over billions of years, this expansive love was created. Even if this mindless piece of glass develops for billions, where's the love? The answer is, all love in your heart comes from a source of love. If you don't have a PhD, you understood what I just said. Right? It's as simple as it gets. It's as simple as it gets. I don't have $100. If you don't have $100 in your pocket, you can't give me $100. Right? Again, if you don't have a PhD, you understood what I said. If I have $100, right, I can give $100. If not, not. So a mindless cell giving such expansive love and awareness and spirituality, it comes from a place that has love and awareness. So if you take all the love in the world, and you take all the love in history, and the source of that is infinitely more than that. Avas olam tavi lahem, we say Rish Chodesh. What means Avas olam tavi lahem? So there's a taich, Avas olam, right? Literally means eternal love, but that Avas olam means take all the love that exists in the world. Take every mother who loves her child. Take every child who loves his mother. Take every person who loves. Take it all. Avas olam. How much love is there in the world at any given moment? A lot. Now take all the love of history, right? Avas olam tav. This is the love you should give them. Because you have it. That's how you have to begin to think about creation. From that space of love. Now you ask, was it really necessary? Was it really, really necessary? So the answer to that is never going to be mathematical. Because mathematics is part of creation. It's never going to be intellectual. Because intellectualism is part of creation. It's never going to come through mechanisms that were created, because those mechanisms themselves are all post that love. You know, when we tried, there was once a conversation between the students of the Maggid, why Hashem created the world. So everybody was, and then the Alter Rebbe said, and I saw somebody writes the story, and he says the Alter Rebbe said it as a joke. I'm telling you why I'm saying it, because it's a joke that he said it that way. That it's a joke that what this guy writes. So the Alter Rebbe said, "B'dichus hadas." Alter Rebbe said, I don't know what you guys are arguing about. It says in Medrash, "Nis'ava Kadosh Baruch Hu liyis lo yidire b'tachtonim." Af ha-taiva is kenkashenisht. Nis'ava, he had a taiva. Af ha-taiva is kenkashenisht. So a person wrote it down. He said he was making a joke. It's a cute joke. Yeah. Rebbe Rashab has a hemshech called Tofresh Samach Vav, 1905, 1906. It's like 500-600 pages. It's all based on this line of the Alter Rebbe. Alter Rebbe's joke became a. This is. He may have said it with humor, but this is like everything in humor. This is the ultimate depth. The point is, you're asking why. The question why presumes that there is logic. Huh? There's a premise that there's logic, and God is bound by logic, and even by my logic, right? So now I'm asking, why? God, justify what this craziness, justify it, right? Somebody's telling me, I'm going to the store. Why? And they say, because I need fish for Shabbos. Okay, good. You justified it. I'm going to the store because I have a taiva. Oh, what's the taiva? You like food? No, I have a taiva. For what? To go to the store. What's going to happen in the store? You need help. You didn't take your vitamins today. Yeah, you haven't gone to therapy for 6 months. I knew it. You're at the beginning of your breaking point. You understand? I hope you don't understand what I just said. Because if you understand, you got nothing of what I said. So Alter Rebbe was saying something very deep. You're talking about a core that's beyond the place of questions. There was no logic. Logic itself is what we want to understand why we needed it. So you're going to use logic to explain the creation of logic. It's ludicrous. So the question is, how do you touch the place of Nis'ava? How? You can't with any instruments that we use. You won't touch it. Because that's all post Nis'ava. So you have to find that space inside of you. And that's Pnimi Yisatayra, that's Chassidus, that space. In that space there's healing, not because it makes sense, because experientially you experience the intimacy of God pre-everything. And somehow he felt that this experiment is the deepest reality that there is. And it's really a story of love. Does the pain suddenly get justified mathematically? No. No, at least not in our realm today. So that's my point here, that in Avodah what happens is, if we bypass the human experience here of pain, we lose the point. God was there pre-creation. It was all good. Remember, everything was good. Dira b'tachtoina means embodiment. It means making space for your experience. So the question is, can my experiential self ever touch the source of all experience pre any instruments? That's the answer of Oidin Sof L'mayla and Keslamata Den Tachlis. Yeah. Where I came from, but the place where there was no I. To use instruments that were created to understand why they were created is a contradiction in terms. So of course Hashem could have done whatever he wanted, doesn't need any tzimtzumim, but then God can do, but the whole point of the world wasn't control. If the point of the world was control, you don't need anything, do what you want. You could make a mosquito without tzimtzum, trust me. How? I don't know how you make a mosquito with tzimtzum, I don't know how you make a mosquito without tzimtzum. I trust the engineer that he knows how to make bees and mosquitoes and butterflies and cheetahs and elephants and black holes. I don't know how to make any of them. I barely understand them. But the whole Vart was a relationship, not control. Dira b'tachtoina means embodiment. So we work through the process from experience. In order to go back to that atzmos, I have to go through the process of Gilui and Helam, of the paradoxes in life that come from the essence. Because it's in the paradoxes where you don't get stuck in a certain dimension of existence. So revelation and concealment are two opposites. Where are they opposites? In the human experience. In our attempt to fuse them, we can only do that when we touch the essence. And then when we touch the essence, we can redefine the experience of Gilui and Helam as manifestations of the essence. And then on an experiential level, everything is oneness. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Not know, but a little feel. You'll see what I'm saying in the Maimer. You'll see it. You'll see it. This is the Nekuda. And that's why it's so important that it's Oirein Soif, because Oirein Soif means it can be experienced. If it's not Oirein Soif, tell me, God is everything he could do, he could conceal. Fine, no, he's everything. Fine, we don't have to talk about anything. Why do we even talk about all these things? We talk about these things because it's about experience. It's about you. That's what the Rebirth means. It's about you. It's about a relationship. A relationship means you have to give credence to the experience of the other. I'm not going to get into now big mashalom of relationships. What's the yesod of a relationship? The yesod of a relationship is respecting the experience of the other. Right? It's one of the biggest problems in relationships. When you don't respect the experience of the other, not the existence of the other. That's obvious. That's called being a mensch, not being Hamas. We're not talking about that. We're talking about respecting the experience of the other. That's much deeper. I respect your existence. Lo yisirtzach. Yeah, you have a tzelem alakim. But your experience, I'm a shugana. Get out of my life. There's no relationship. The experience of the other, this means I'm ready to go through with you the journey of your internal globe, you know. Huh? Including the things I don't understand. So Dira B'Tachtoina means the experience of the relationship. You embody the relationship. It becomes you. There's achdus. For this you can't bypass anything. That's why you can't bypass anything. Oir is ultimately a revelation, an experience. So that's the chiddush that even the Lamaila Maila Adin Ketz comes out in Oir. In other words, the fusion of Gilui and Helam. So that even revelation has everything, not just concealment. So we don't romanticize. If we would divorce it from oil, we would be romanticizing concealment. We're not romanticizing concealment. We're explaining that concealment is part of Oirein Soif. It's part of the fusion of Beirei and Nivra, of heaven and earth. Oh, so why do you need concealment? That's the answer. Because when we start with revelation, we cut off half. We only get revelation, which is just what could be communicated in the world of revelation. It's the unity between revelation and concealment that brings in the higher essence, which is Atzmos, and over there the ultimate fusion happens.
Sounds like you already gave us the secret of Lamala.
So just one correction. I didn't give you any secrets. The only one who will give you all the secrets is you. That's just a little correction. But it's a big correction. It's a little correction, but it's a big correction. With all due respect, I didn't give you the key either. I'm just trying to be a channel for the Rebbe's Maimer. That's all I'm trying to do. The whole point of it is that the key is inside. That's the whole point of everything. That's the ganze Inyan. When we talk about these things, as I told you, I think in last year or the two, when we spoke about breathing, in these inyanim, the moment the teacher, I'm talking now about myself or any teacher, right, takes any of the energy to themselves, they're not just saying something wrong. They are interrupting the entire flow. If I'm teaching law or I'm teaching even lahavdil Gemara, over there it's also true, but over there it's you're talking about the cases in Gemara. So the Ein Sof is more concealed in Gemara, right? It's nigla the Torah. So over there, even over there, if there's a little bit of ego, you're distorting everything. But over there, it's more concealed. When it comes to this inyan, you're talking about literally the energetic flow of the divine through every person. So any nekuda of ego, literally, it's stealing. It's mamish loy signav. It's taking away. That's why when you teach chassidus, the inner work that's necessary, and when you learn it, it's both teacher and student, is so profound because any interruption in that flow, is literally, you're undermining the teaching, and then the teaching just becomes a detached experience. And the moment it becomes a detached experience, you lose it. I'm not going to say it's pointless, because learning Torah is always good, but it's certainly not the nekuda of chassidus. Nein, nicht was der Rebbe hat gemeint. Yes.
So is it like, just trying to understand, the further we get from creation, that intimacy, whatever Hashem wanted, in a way we're going away from it, then we're also getting closer to Geula.
Yeah.
So it's...
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So we could be looking at, like the Eurytus Adoros, but...
Excellent. What we're going to learn is that the depth of the Tzimtzum is the depth of divine experience. The deeper the Helam, the deeper the concealment, the deeper the revelation, but not the revelation of revelation. The deeper the revelation of that which is beyond revelation. The deeper Atzmos. The deeper of the essence. The deeper the concealment, the deeper of the essence. So the deeper of the revelation of the essence, but not in the term revelation like we call revelation, I see it, but the deeper of the expression and manifestation of the experience of Atzmos. Yeah. Yeah. And then ultimately the two are fused because it's the same Oirein Soif, that's Lamata and Lamaila, it's the same thing. Right? Really, Oirein Soif is Oirein Soif. It's Lamaila and against Lamata, it's the same Oir. So why you explain that it's two opposites? Because in the experience of it, it's completely two opposites. So if it's two opposites, it's not the same. No, it is the same. But we get to the fusion of the two opposites by going through the polarities of Shnei Ksuvim HaMakchishim Zeh Atche Yaveh HaKosuv HaShlishi, which is Atzmos, V'yachriya Beinayim. So why do you have to have the contradictions? Go to the third pasuk. Because if you go to the third pasuk without the contradictions, you don't experience the contradiction. So if you didn't experience the contradiction, you're not experiencing the Kosuv HaShlishi, you're bypassing the contradictions. So don't create a world. Don't create human experience and we're good. That's what Zalman the Shikha said. I get it. Makes sense. So you have to say the love was so deep that God wanted a real relationship. That's why relationships is the deepest nakuda in life. Why does relationships drive everybody crazy? Why can't everybody just become a hermit and that's it? Leave us alone. Why? Why loy toive yos adam levado? It's nice to be alone sometimes, no? But the truth is, because when you'll go by everything, there were those shittas in Yiddishkeit, people who were Prushim. You know what Prushim are? They were ascetics. They were Parushim Olam Haza, and they were really great people. They let go of all the taivas and all the... I'm talking about real ones. I don't mean the ones that did it, that itself became part of the movie. Yeah. We're talking about the real thing. Yeah, they left everything. I don't need anything. Ben Azai didn't even want to get married. He said, Nafshi chashka b'toira. He died. He went into the Pardes and he died. I mean, he meant it. He wasn't... he was no... the Gemara incited that Ben Azai described intimacy between a man and a woman. So the Gemara says, how did Ben Azai know? Right, the Chazal, there was no monkey business. How did Ben Azai know? So the Gemara says 3 reasons. One is he was married and he got divorced. Nasiv a parish. The second reason he heard from his Rebbe. And what's the third reason? Soid Hashem lireyav. God told him. 3 reasons the Gemara how Ben Azai knew about physical intimacy. Soid Daf Daled Amid Beis, I think, on top. Daf Heit Daf Daled Amid Beis. It's over there about how long it takes, everything cited. Ben Azai, 3 reasons. You have to understand why the Gemara has 3 different reasons. He was divorced, he heard from his Rebbe, or Soid Hashem Lirev. So you're talking about the real thing here. You're not talking about but Nadav and Avihu were holier than Moshe and Aaron. But what's the idea of Perishus? The idea of Perishus is ultimately you renounce the world. Why do you renounce the world? Only because of God. You want to Kirvas Hashem. The Baal Shem Tov was a revolutionary. One of the biggest. Baal Shem Tov said, go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And when you'll touch Atzmos, you know what you're going to find? You're going to find love. Because that's everything. Nis'ava Kadosh Baruch Hu like what's the I want a relationship. Ein Sof, Einoid Mulvado, you had much better pre-creation. Trust me, Einoid Mulvado pre-creation. You didn't have Rabbi YY sitting here with Shiyudim trying to argue that Einoid Mulvado. In other words, arguments. So it's not Einoid Mulvado. He wanted Einoid Mulvado with you. Ooh. You hear? Einoid Mulvado, but one condition, with you. experience that in your bones, it's pretty intense. Huh? Ein oid mulvadoi. Fine, ein oid mulvadoi. So let's kill ourselves. It'll be ein oid mulvadoi, right? Iran has good ideas. Just do it to Iran first. Let's first be ein oid mulvadoi, right? Nuke the world, ein oid mulvadoi, mechaya. Or to put it simply, lo hayat tzarich. You don't need this mess. It's ein oid mulvadoi. No. We need a mess, and then we have to scream, so you pay my mortgage with your hevel avola. You marry off my kids, yeah? You get them through the school system. That's like one of the hardest things, right? To get your kids through the school system. Somebody told me a few days ago that he has a big family, Baruch Hashem, and some struggle. So he said he came to a Rav once, and a very, very man who had common sense and a lot of compassion. And he looked at him and his wife, and he said, you know what's going to be the hardest thing for you? To get your kids through the school system. It's going to be the hardest thing for you, with your personalities and everything. My point is, Ein Oid Mulvadai is not a joke. Ein Oid Mulvadai, good for a chasana wedding. Ein Oid Mulvadai with you in the Ein Oid Mulvadai. You're going to embody Ein Oid Mulvadai. Now think about that. Think how much love is there in that word. You're going to embody Ein Oid Mulvadai. Me? What my nervous system? What my meshagasin? My darkness? What my trauma? Who's supposed to? Yeah. Your trauma, your darkness, your nervous system, your animal soul, your body. Yeah, that's going to embody it. That's pretty intense stuff. It's more than intense. It's everything. It's mind-boggling, yeah. And it's not don't go with logic. Go with experience, right? So the Baal Shem Tov said, precious is all madregas that may sensitize you to spirituality, and that's the value. Much better than being a glutton and dulling your sensitivity. But being sensitive to spiritual energy is very far from the ultimate truth. Being sensitive to spiritual energy is very important, because if you're not, I'm just a couch, a couch potato. Fine, eat French fries with ketchup. So sensitivity to spirituality, which is what precious is, precious mevila de kedusha, the Mishnah, and the Bryce of Pinchas Ben Yair at the end of Sait is critical. But at the Nakuda, deeper and deeper, you're going to come to a place of nesava, desire. And what's the desire? Desire is you. That's why the Gemara says, Rachmana liba boy. Right? Hashem wants the heart. Rachmana liba boy. What's the idea? He wants the heart. It's all about the heart. Rachmana liba boy. Rachmana liba boy doesn't mean people think he doesn't want your actions, he wants your heart. That's a shtus. Taryag mitzvah says Taryag mitzvah. He wants that. Rachmana liba boy means at the core of everything was a heart, is a heart. But only if it's with you. It's my heart with your heart. So for you to viscerally embody Dira B'Tachtonim, I need you. If I need you to integrate and bring in your entire Metzias, your whole system. Not just your light, your darkness too. Don't amputate anything. So the whole process of Oir Ein Sof is that Oir, which is the beginning of Dira B'Tachtonim, because Oir is the connection, the experience, the oneness. Light is my connection to you. Comes in two opposite ways. Lamata and Lamaila. But it's all the same Oir Ein Sof. And in the fusion of that, we touch the ultimate unity of Geula. And the deepest Oitzer is Lamaila Aden Ketz, as we'll see. Okay, we'll take a break here, so everybody could breathe. Remember how to breathe. And Be'ezer Hashem will continue the Torah of the Baal Shem Tov Sunday morning, 8 o'clock a.m. Everybody have a beautiful day and a good Shabbos. Tzlacha de Shabbos.
And if a person has the time just to go to the grocery store because he had it, and then he goes, and then he sees something, the Hashgacha Pratis because of it, people will say he's crazy. And he might say, but what happens when a person
Yeah, you're right. That's the point.
No, I'm serious, because before I started whatever journey, like 8 years ago, I had that once. I felt walk to the grocery store, and I always drive. And I walked to the grocery store, and on my way home, I looked at my keys, and all of a sudden I went, oh, let me go. It was a house on my block. It was keys that had the address, whatever. So all of a sudden, I had no time to go to the grocery store, and all of a sudden, then I started seeing too much, and I wasn't ready for it.
Wow.
But what happens when a person sort of feels a type within himself to do something just without a physical?
Yeah, so we always have to know, or not, or there's a deep calling. Sometimes there's a deep calling. Shukayach to you. I think we're going to have to learn Tuesday morning also. We want to finish. We're going to learn Tuesday morning also, yeah. Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Are we going to chazah the Einod Milvado? Because I still didn't get it.
With you?
Yeah.
Einoid Milvado that you should experience. In other words, Einoid Milvado, there's nothing outside of him, okay. So you don't have to create a world. The Alter Rebbe writes, it says in Bereshit, Lo toive yos ha'adam levadai. It's not good for Adam to be alone. Alter Rebbe says, ha'adam always refers to Hashem, the ultimate Adam. It wasn't good for him to be alone. He didn't want to be alone. Lo toive yos adam levadai. He wanted the experience of oneness with the person.
You have to chazah this.
Yeah. So it's your presence that is as critical to the whole point of existence as your transcendence. You know, it's not just you bittul, mavatal yourself, go away, run away from you. Yeah, I need to open myself up to higher reality, but I need to open myself up. If you delegitimize your presence, your experience, your soul, your identity, you're not doing God or yourself a favor.
Extricate yourself from the Einod Milvado,
Ein Oid Milvado really means you too. Yeah, everything. Ein Oid Milvado means literally. That includes you. If Ein Oid Milvado excludes you, so it's not Ein Oid Milvado. Right. Right, that's the whole point. So the real Ein Oid Milvado is the Taka Ein Oid Milvado, even post-creation, not only pre-creation. So that means every Nekuda of the Bria and every Nekuda of self is part of Ein Oid Milvado. That includes my darkness. It includes my struggles. It includes my ups and downs. It includes Lamata din Tachlis, Lamayla din Ketz. Now we're going to learn even deeper that the darkness is really the expression of Lamayla din Ketz, which is the Helam Achra Helam, which is Ilu Yachar Ilu, which is Atzmos. We're going to get there. We don't want to.
The whole Yisod of Basi Lagani.
This is Basi Lagani.
Now I'm saying, now we're going
Basi Lagani Achaisikala. He said, I'm coming Lagani. I'm coming to the place where it all began.
Now we're going back to
Yeah, Lamakam Shaya Ikri Betchila, the Ikr Shchina Betachtoina, my son. Yeah.
to the Einod Milvado.
Let's go back where it started. Yeah.
Come in.
Yeah, I was expelled, but this is my dream. I was expelled from my garden, but this is my only place. I don't have other places.
Basi Lagani. You
Yeah.
have to be in the Einod
Basi Lagani, I want to be here.
Milvado, and you have to come. Basi, come in.
It's you. You're the Einoid Milvado. You're the embodiment of it. Yisrael v'kutche brichu kol echad, huh?
contradicts a little bit the way certain people grow up in certain bubbles where the Irish is
So this idea, as du bist garnished, Matyash Gelein Basi Lagani, Tere B'tachtoina.
you're a shagged, you're a lowlight. You don't.
So this idea of making somebody feel like garnished doesn't really work with everything we're talking about. But it's poshet, it's not like a chiddush. The reason we make people garnished is because deep down we feel like garnished. When you feel like garnished, you make other people feel like garnished. People who experience any of this never make another person feel garnished.
Meaning to say that you're not worthy of being part of Einod Milvado. If you don't behave,
Right, so to say to somebody you're not worthy of being part of Einoid Milvadai is not denying the dignity of the person, it's denying God. It's kfir in Hashem. He says that you're part of his purpose, you're part of Einoid Milvadai, but I say you're not. So what does it tell me about me, and what does it tell me about the other person's, my relationship to Hashem?
Is this a Frierdiker Rebbe's own trying to deal with? I mean, he went through the Holocaust, so he experienced it.
Listen, the Holocaust and all these
I know,
things are the
yeah.
ultimate.
Are they Catholics?
Yeah. So it's not.
It's its own.
Yeah.
It's its own.
Listen, we're not going to be able to, with logic, make
No,
peace
can't.
out of crazy darkness. It doesn't work.
You can't. But this is.
But it does give. It gives empowerment. I would say empowerment. That even in places that we don't understand anything, and we have control over nothing, we still have something infinite to hold on to. And not just to hold on to, but to lean into. And that's life-changing. That a place that I don't understand, I have something to lean into, and an infinity to lean into, and not only hold on to it, but completely surrender to it and lean into with trust. That changes everything. If it's real. Not by bypassing pain and saying everything is rosy and dandy, and life could have never been better. We're not talking about that. That's again amputating emotion. There's no need to amputate. The whole idea of L'mayla den Ketz is that we don't want to amputate emotions. If we would want to amputate emotions, we don't have to discuss Helam. There's only Gilui, everything is good and good and good. Oh, you don't see it? Fine, you're a little dumb. Put on different glasses, buy my glasses. That's not the Vart. The Vart is you're ready to go through the experiences of concealment. It's so precious. You touch the texture of concealment, and it's in that texture where you touch L'mayla den Ketz. What you're calling concealment is really concealment, but it's really the texture of L'mayla den Ketz. That's what it is. Does it have to come with pain? I don't know the words it has to, but there's a lot of pain in the world. There's a lot of pain in our lives. Does it have to? Usually when we work through I don't know the word is inviting the pain. Like, come, I want pain. I don't want to inviting. I think not being afraid of experiencing whatever we're experiencing. Not being afraid of it. No need to make believe it's not there, to suppress it. Because that's just truth there. There's tremendous truth there. That my body needs to process, and I need to breathe through it, and I'm allowed to feel it. And then I'll be able to release it. And ultimately, I'll be able to touch the texture of L'mayla den Ketz in the concealment. The Helam Achar Helam is the other side of Ilui Achar Ilui. It's two sides of the same coin. When you hold a coin, you're holding both sides of the coin. But at one point in my life, I see only one side of the coin. Helam Achar Helam. You know how a coin it's minted on two sides with different messages? So I'm holding one side of it, and it says Helam Achar Helam. It feels like concealment after concealment. Deeper concealment, deeper blockage, deeper darkness. If I hold on to that coin, and I turn it around, it says Ilui Achar Ilui. You went higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. And it's not a contradiction. It's both very, very true. There's Helam Achar Helam and there's Ilui Achar Ilui. And that's what the Rabbeim, the Rebbes are trying to reveal here. That's exactly what they're trying to reveal.
Can you explain why the Rambam speaks about his depression? Is that the same reason to say this?
I think so.
This was life.
I think, there's a letter from the Rambam. You know the letter, that's what he's referring to. The Rambam writes about his experiences in life. So he says that after his brother drowned, Reb David, he couldn't get out of bed for a year. He was in depression. The words that he uses, it's a letter I think in Arabic, so I don't know exactly, but the words that he was in depression for a year and he couldn't get out of bed. Because he says, my brother was not only a brother, he was my best friend and my child, like a child and a student. Basically, he was like the Rambam student. The Rambam raised him, and he also supported the Rambam. The Rambam gave him money, and he invested it so the Rambam could sit and learn and be the Rambam, and he paid for everything. He supported the Rambam and his wife, and he also had a daughter, Reb David. And, so now the Rambam had to get a job. He became a doctor because his brother drowned. He had to support himself and his family and his niece and his dalmona, his sister-in-law. And the Rambam held that you're not allowed to take support from learning and teaching. It was the Rambam's shitta, you're not allowed to. The Rambam held that a Rav who gets money from the Kehillah, it's a crime. You can't be a Rav, you're not allowed to. You have to have your own parnasa. The only way. You're never allowed to take money. That was the Rambam's shitta. Others argued with him. So the Rambam had to become a doctor. The Rambam became world-renowned because of this. So the Rambam writes in this letter that it's now, I think, 7 or 8 years after my brother died, and I still haven't recovered. And I still think about it. And terribly, terribly painful letter. So you see here that the Rambam, who was the ultimate Baal Moichen, and Moich Shalat al-Alev, and a tzaddik, who could even describe the Rambam? It says, Moshe van Moshe lekam k'Moshe. He not only felt this pain, and he acknowledged it in a letter, and he was very vulnerable about it. The Rambam could have said it's Hashgacha Pratis. The Rambam believed that everything that happens to people, at least, is Hashgacha Pratis, at least for people, Meir Nevuchim. Even if you want to say that he had different shittas and other things, whatever, but so what Kol Ma David, he didn't know the Gemara. Chayv Adam Levarech Ala Rog Shem Levarech Ala Toiv. Kol David Achmed, I knew the Gemara, he didn't know the Gemara. But there wasn't a contradiction. The Rambam was things were experienced, they were embodied. And there's a part that's terribly, terribly in pain. He loved his brother because a piece of his life, and they cut off his limb. That's what he felt like. But it's precisely as we make space for all the concealments that we can touch what's behind the concealment. If I never touch my concealment, I never find L'mayla Adin Ketz. Because the L'mayla Adin Ketz is in the Helam. So when we run away from our own darkness and pain, we don't touch the L'mayla Adin Ketz. It's not about romanticizing pain and wallowing in it, and now I'm going to go into an abyss and stay there for 50 years. L'mayla Adin Ketz means the empowerment of how to be able to experience the concealment, because in that experience itself, there's going to be another side. There's going to be another side. Don't worry about it. You're so afraid, what do they say? Pain is painful, it's not dangerous. You're so afraid we are so afraid of experiencing pain that we would rather repress it and deny it, which means it stays in our cellular memory forever, and it wreaks havoc. Because so much of what we do is to avoid the pain of coming to the surface. So anybody, especially your wife or your husband or your child, who triggers that, we go crazy. We don't know why we're going crazy. The body is going crazy because this is danger zone. You are triggering something I hid 45 years ago, and you're not going to reveal it. Sorry. So much of our life is dysfunctional. We don't even know why. I'm in a bad mood. I'm detached. You're not a bad person. The animal soul goes into survival mode and coping mechanism, and it will not allow these concealments to come up because it believes that it has to be concealed forever for me to be a good person and a good father and a mensch and an erlich chayid. And really, it's wreaking havoc. It's wreaking havoc because so many of my decisions and so many of my emotional reactions are only here to avoid it coming to the surface. That's how scary it is. And I understand it. I get it. Because 3 years old, when I was 3, if I would have felt it, Itaka would have died. Itaka would have died. It would have been death. I would have not had life. In order to motivate myself to live, I was very smart. Actually, you got to give your animal soul credit. But now, you're 50 years old, it's wreaking havoc. Or 40 or 30 or 20, whatever it is. Kol chad from shura delay. It's wreaking havoc. Why is it wreaking havoc? You don't believe in your ability to experience truth and to process it. You could.
You can have pain and just not suffer.
Yeah. And what we're learning here is the depth of all of this. The depth of all of this is, this is the Chassidus piece. That the Helem, Achar Helem, is really L'mayla Adin Ketz. It's Ilui Achar Ilui. So to touch that, you actually need to touch the Helem. If you don't touch the Helem, you're missing the texture of your ultimate life, your ultimate redemption. Your ultimate Geula is going to be here. Doesn't mean it's not painful. He's not saying it's not concealment. It is concealment. Well, what is concealment? When you work through concealment, you're going to see a whole other element of concealment, another dimension of it. And ultimately, you're going to fuse the two.
Why is it like that?
Well, actually, a cold, logical why I don't have for you. But a deep, spiritual, experiential why we do have. We do have. Yeah, that's going to be the Nekudah of the Maimer. Man sagt von Rebbe Maharash, hat gesagt, dass ich habe es gehört von Rebbe einmal bei Verbringen. Ich habe es gehört, mit 15 Mal, vielleicht ist es sagen eine Sache. Der Rebbe Maharash hat gesagt, dem Ebersten kann man nicht abnaden, die Welt kann man euch nicht abnaden, Sof kol Sof. Der Einzige, was man kann abnaden, ist sich allein. Was ist die Kunst, als ein Narr narrt ab ein Narr? You can't fool Hashem. At the end, you won't fool the world either. The only one you could fool is yourself. And what's the big deal? That a fool fools a fool. There's that part of me, that's busy fooling myself is a fool. So what's the big chiddush that a fool fools a fool? Let it go. The fool needs to fool the fool. Okay, you did it. The fool fooled the fool. Fine. Next. Move on. Yeah. Bleibisch kenar. Why is it called anar? Why is it anar? He's stupid, his IQ is low. No, his IQ is usually very high. The people that fool themselves most are sometimes the smartest people you'll see in real life. They have such good intellect, they could fool everybody. They think they fool everybody and themselves too. Like people sometimes with narcissistic personality disorder are brilliant in how they do it, if you're familiar with this tchum. The reason it's called a fool is because ultimately it's the biggest shtus in the world. It's the biggest shtus in the world because you're not typhus, the pnimius of who you are. You're in such a trap. What does shtus mean? Shtus mean I don't see reality. I'm completely in my own illusions. I'm busy trapping the part that is so trapped. Big deal. There's like a mosquito that's half dead and you trap it. Oh, I trapped it. You understand? The part of you that's so trapped, you trapped. Okay. Shekoyach. Can you see the part of you that's not trapped? And then you don't need to trap it. Okay. Freilichem Shabbos, a good Shabbos. The twins in the womb, yeah.
I thought that before I started Chassidus, I remember telling Hashem, saying, how many times can I die? I remember saying this to Hashem, how many times can you kill me emotionally? Today when you said that, I felt like, how many times can I get born?
Wow, that's beautiful.
Every time I come,
That's beautiful what you're saying. You used to think before Chassidus, how many times can you kill me? And now you're thinking, how many times can you give birth to me? That is beautiful.
Thank you. This was a cover Shabbos.
Yeah. Don't thank me. I told you, I'm a channel. I'm trying to be a channel. Thank you, Hashem. Thank the Rebbe. And thank yourself. Mr. Chassan. Mazel tov. Loi toive yois adam lavada, avada. Avada, yichud kutshebrichu schinte, avada. Nee, das ist das. Und als das Shalom Bayis in Stub, wird es a Keli für ein Eid Malvada. Das Schinne schruie bei Nehem. Ich wie ich sage, wenn der Chasna. Dem Dienstag. Ja, gewaltig. You got your best Chassan lesson. So sein a Binyan Adeyad. Betoiva Nide va Nigla. Hagamas mat hein gered wegen Helm. So sein Betoiva Nide va Nigla. Nicht mit Helm. I'm telling him it should be revealed goodness. He's getting married on Tuesday. So da Maime Teure Earth von Alter Rebbe von Balatanya Parshas Bereshis Loi Tove Yos Adam Levada. It's gelernt. Moire de Maime. This Nekuda. A Spiegel, yeah. A Spiegel, yeah. Madas Hatzoyus, yeah. Hareini es marayich, hashmiini es koilich, ki koilich ori v'marich nava. So Alter Rebbe, Hareini es marayich is a mirror, a Spiegel. I think so. I think we did it, yeah. On the yeshiva.net, I think we have that mimer. Many years ago, I think we did it. So moide de mimer, that levadai, ha'adam is Hashem, and he didn't want to be levadai. He could have been levadai. He didn't want to be levadai. He wanted to have the other. But he says you can have the other. Archaizer, yeah. Archaizer. Yeah. The lion's chassidus zech. Okay. Noch the chassid of Melena Nasach.